Hi everybody, Jim Ostrowski back with a special edition of the Liberty Moving podcast. And actually the subject matter is quite appropriate, although it's sort of personal as opposed to a general political analysis, but it's all kind of intermingled, commingled, as for reasons that you'll see. This is going to be a hoot. So the topic is, what is the best house in Erie County for the money? I assume this is going to go viral because everybody's going to be interested in expressing their opinion. But here's the thing. I came up with an algorithm to answer this question. And the algorithm is based on objective factors, mostly mathematical factors. So it's actually not an opinion, except in the sense that you could say that including the objective factors, which the decision to include this or that objective factor is itself subjective. And, that's sort of an infinite regress argument. But my response to that would be, we'll get into the factors in a second. My response to that is, you can't really credibly argue that the objective meaning outside the mind, in other words, they're not in my mind, therefore it's not my subjective belief or subjective opinion. It may be, if you quibble around with the meaning of words, an opinion about objective factors. But I don't think you can credibly argue that any of these factors are really a matter of opinion. They're really more of sort of self-evident Jeffersonian truths about buying a house. So, the reason I came up with this algorithm is that we are selling the family homestead, 63 Newport. It's on Zillow if you want some photos and detailed information. You may say, well, why are you doing a podcast about selling your house and you're not at your house? We should be seeing the house. Well, you'll be able to, if anybody's interested in seeing the house, can see the house. I'm going to run across the street because somebody hit the bike path. But here's the thing. My algorithm does not factor in the specifics of any particular house, because then it wouldn't be an algorithm. So although it's very important to check out any property, I actually have a disclaimer I'm going to read before you buy it. The algorithm I'm not expressing this well, but the algorithm does not depend on the particulars of any piece of real estate. Because again, it's an objective, mathematical algorithm based on objective factors. So I know that was a bit confusing, but I had to get it out there. So I do have a disclaimer I want to read, which is quite relevant to what I just said. This analysis is based only on the factors stated and not the actual condition of any of the properties, because I do talk about properties other than our house. Before you buy, inspect the property and get a property disclosure statement, which is required by law, and consider the age of the property as well. Regardless of statistics and measurements, each property is unique. This is kind of an axiom in the law. Every piece of real estate is unique. It's actually a legal principle. And that's why, by the way, Zillow estimates, although very useful, are not precise, because they're based on comparable sales, but really every piece of real estate is unique. So only an actual inspection of the property and the surrounding neighborhood will allow you to properly evaluate a house. So what is this algorithm? There's 5 factors, and then I have kind of a 6th factor, which is not technically part of the algorithm, but I think it's very important. And it is an objective factor. It's not something I'm just making up, like, oh, there's a certain type of tree in our neighborhood that I really like, and therefore I think our street's better. No, it's based on objective factors, and we'll get into it, but it's technically not really part of the algorithm, but it kind of comes in at the end as sort of you could call it a tiebreaker or a bonus round. So what are the factors? The 5 factors. Well, first of all, and this relates to the whole concept of voting with your feet. This relates to the concept of direct action, which is one of the concepts of direct action, is starving the beast. So, property taxes. Why should you be paying more property taxes when you could be paying less property taxes? Now, there's one big reason that people will give to say, well, I don't mind paying more high property. But here's the thing, I got that factor essentially covered in the algorithm. We'll get into that in a second. So factor number 1 is, and we're talking about Erie County here, assuming people are staying in the area, family, business, whatever, their job, they like the area in spite of the politics and so on. But they want to buy in Erie County. Now, I'm not factoring in Niagara County, just really part of the metropolitan area or the southern tier. You get into the more rural areas outside Buffalo, Niagara, and you're getting into some very subjective factors of different lifestyles. Rural area, it's different. There's more hunting, this, that, and the other thing. I'm not getting into that. So basically, technically, I'm limiting this to Erie County. But you could apply the same factors to Niagara County, on your own if you want to, and then compare the 2 counties. So, property taxes. Where are the lowest property taxes in Erie County? The lowest property taxes in Erie County are in the city of Buffalo. Now, I'm going to talk about my sources. First of all, my source was AI Grok. But Grok said that there is a website on the Erie County website that rates all property taxes in the county. I looked at it and verified this. Yes, indeed, Buffalo has the lowest property taxes in Erie County. So again, that for most people who don't buy with cash, the property taxes are going to be factored right into your mortgage. So again, why would you have a higher mortgage payment when you could have a lower mortgage payment, all other things being equal? And we can argue about that, and we will. So I'm limiting so in the first elimination round, I'm basically focusing in only on the city of Buffalo. And some people will chafe at that, but I will explain what I'm talking about. I think to your satisfaction, at least you'll understand where I'm coming from on that point. So the reason why Buffalo has low property taxes, basically we don't have a separate school district, and the city of Buffalo schools are subsidized by the state of New York, and that's just the way it is. You can only make decisions on that basis. That's just called objective reality. So we hopefully go a little quicker here. I know I'm covering a lot of introductory stuff, disclaimers and so on, methodology. Point 2, safe, walkable neighborhood. Well, whether a neighborhood's walkable, it's not really a statistical thing, but for example, right here I am on the bike path. You see how beautiful it is. It's half a mile from our house. If you go north, you can get to the Erie Canal, but make sure you got a couple hours to do it because it's quite a haul. You could walk there and get picked up or whatever, take an Uber. But if you go south, you get to Shoshone Park, Hurdle Avenue. There's coffee shops. You can have a cup of coffee. You can have breakfast. You can do lots of things and then head back. So walkable, whether a neighborhood's walkable, basically I eyeballed all the neighborhoods and I know. So let me just back up and say that I know the city of Buffalo about as well as anybody. I lived in South Buffalo for many, many years. I've lived in North Buffalo for many, many years. I've worked downtown and still do for many, many years. I'm very familiar with the east side, the west side, every section of the city. I won't bore you with the details. Tiff Farm, I used to be on the board of Tiff Farm, familiar with the waterfront area too. Canal side, I've been all over so I know every jot and tittle of the city. So, safe. Now, safe is mathematical, it's statistical, it's objective. It's not my opinion. And I use crimegrades.org. This is very critical to the analysis. Crimegrades.org, which has a color-coded map of the entire city, the entire country, actually. And they have three. The green zone is the best. As far as I could tell from the map, they have three different green zones, and I counted the top three for determining which neighborhoods in the city of Buffalo we would limit our search to. So, and then the fourth one is sort of a yellowish, and I said, no, it's getting a little bit too yellow for me. So, basically, no big surprise to anybody who knows the city of Buffalo. There were two green zones in the city of Buffalo. One is in North Buffalo, and one is in South Buffalo. No big surprise. I've lived in both neighborhoods. Again, I know every street that I'm talking about in the green zone. In fact, I drove down every street as part of this, putting this algorithm together. So, factor 3, quiet side street. Not necessarily a mathematical issue, but pretty obvious what a side street is as opposed to a main drag. It's noisier, there's traffic, it's tough getting in and out of your driveway, and frankly, there's less privacy and so on. See, these are all just sort of common sense objective factors, but that is in the algorithm. Number 4, and you could say, well, this is a matter of opinion, but it's also objective. So, double driveway, double attached garage. Back in the old days, many homes had just a single driveway. Now there's more cars. We have a bit more, there's more cars floating around. Families have more cars. Back in the day, you had one car. Now a typical family has, we only have one car, but many families have 2 cars. And it's extremely convenient to have not only a double attached garage, but a double driveway and attached garage, for safety coming in and out, depending on the neighborhood. These are all green zone neighborhoods, but anything can happen anytime. And it's nice to know you can zip in and out of your house just without any conceivable risk of interference from some unwanted stranger. And also, generally speaking, the attached garage means that you now have a bigger backyard and a more private backyard. And I think I don't think these are really debatable factors as far as the desirability of a house in this area or any area. Finally, it's good to have a wide and deep lot. I think the reasons for this are obvious. You have more room, you have more privacy. You can have people over, you can have parties, you can have events, and some in the city particularly. I know there's more room in the suburbs, but you're paying the property tax. Some front lawns are really quite small, and in our case, I'm just using this as an example, our front lawn was big enough so that the kids could play, when they were younger, they could actually play soccer on the front lawn. So, but you also want to have a nice backyard, and you want to have like a wide lot so that your yard is big. So I think it's sort of, you could say, well, it's your opinion, Jim. It's like, I don't know, but it's an opinion, I think, held by virtually any normal human being, So wide lot, large backyard. So I put some parameters on here: 65 feet by 120 or larger. And again, you could say, well, geez, that's somewhat self-serving or jerry-rigged. You know, here's my point. Let me get this out on the table. You could say this algorithm is self-serving, and I have, I guess, a couple responses. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter whether it's self-serving or not, because you're not me, you're you. Whether something is self-serving to me is irrelevant to you. The only thing you should be concerned about is the algorithm true? Is it objectively true? And I've already kind of demonstrated that it is objectively true. It's not my opinion. These are all mathematical factors, certainly crime grades. The size of lots was determined by the city zoning map. The other factors, I think I've listed pretty much all of my sources. Property taxes based on Erie County's website, crimegrades.org. The other things, whether it's a double driveway, double attached garage, I just eyeballed them. I mean, I literally drove down every street and eyeballed them. So these are. It doesn't matter if it's self-serving or not. So let me talk about so basically limiting it to City of Buffalo and the 2 green zones. I already told you I literally drove down every single street, eyeballed every single street, and I came up with a list of properties, and I'm going to talk about those right now. So first of all, let's talk about South Buffalo properties. I found, how you doing? I found in South Buffalo 4 properties that met the algorithm, and I'm going to talk about them. And I'm not trying to violate anybody's privacy or anything, but I want people to know that these are indeed properties. Now, let me just issue another disclaimer that I eyeballed this. I drove down these streets. It's quite possible I missed a street. I think it's highly unlikely because I know the neighborhood, but this is just based on my eyeballing houses, seeing the physical characteristics, and then creating a list. I did it in good faith. If I left out 1 or 2 houses, it's possible I did. I don't think I did. I think I got everybody. So there's a house on Downing Street, which is actually my old street. I know it well. It's a beautiful street. It's a beautiful neighborhood. And that house, I think I'll leave out I'm just going to use the streets. I'm going to leave out the addresses. That house, however, is $473,000 on Zillow. So that is what it is. There's another house on Susan Lane that met the algorithm. That house is listed for $281,000, and that house is not for sale. I suspect that if it was, it would sell for more than that. I thought that was kind of a low ball. There's 2 houses that met the criteria on Belvedere Road, which is near Mercy Hospital, and one of those is listed on Zillow for $303,000, but I want to just point out that house has only 2 bedrooms, and it's a pretty small house, 1357 square feet, but 2 bedrooms is a pretty small house these days. The other house on Belvedere, and Belvedere's a nice little street. It's right off of McKinley, and the other house was listed for $345,000. And I'll talk about these houses a little bit more later. Now, so let's skip to the North Buffalo Green Zone. We'll talk about those houses. And what do we have? We might as well start out with, now, again, the algorithm is, what is the best house in Erie County for the money? I mean, if you have $5 million to spend on a house, you can certainly buy a big mansion in, pretty much anywhere and put up your security gate. You could, the crimegrades.org would be somewhat irrelevant for somebody like that. But this is for the money, obviously, because that's how most people in this world function, as opposed to people who have unlimited people who have unlimited income. So there's a beautiful new build on one of the best streets in Buffalo. It's Depew. It's somewhat on the other side of the tracks from my house. A lot of distractions on the bike path this morning. Sorry. So that's on Depew. But here's the thing. If that house is listed in value at $900,000, so I will be the first to concede that's probably a better house than ours on Newport Avenue. So another house, there's only 4, by the way, in North Buffalo. There's only 4 in South Buffalo. This is only 8. In other words, just to make clear what I think is already clear, my algorithm only came up with 8 houses in the entire county that meet these criteria. So there's another house on Covington Road, which is listed for on Zillow, not listed for sales, listed on Zillow as having a certain value based on comparable sales. I won't get into that. $377,000. There's another house on Winston Road. It's actually on Parkside. It's right across from St. Rose Church, which is our neighborhood church. I know the house well. It's a very nice house. It looks like a nice house. I've never been in it. And that one's listed for $375,000. And finally, last but not least, 63 Newport Avenue, which, guess what? That's where we live. And that, strangely enough, oddly enough, the algorithm I came up with, camera always gets screwed up when I'm turning around in the baseball diamond. The algorithm I came up with to determine the best house in Erie County for the money, strangely enough, just happens to, by sheer coincidence, include 63 Newport Avenue. Our house does meet all of the criteria, all the factors of the algorithm, no surprise. And I'll just reiterate, the fact that the algorithm is self-serving, completely irrelevant. The only question for you is it true or not? Is it true or not? And people interested in buying a home, all the algorithm is designed to do is to get you interested in looking at the property. Then you got to evaluate the property, the age of the property, the condition statement, information we give you about the neighborhood. We'll be very honest about the neighborhood. Very nice neighborhood. It's not perfect. No neighborhood is perfect. Again, if you want a perfect neighborhood, become a millionaire and buy a big mansion out in the rural areas where you have a mile between you and the next neighbor. And that neighborhood's going to be perfect. It's going to be a little lonely, quiet, and maybe a little too quiet and too boring. So that's basically, I have a few. I'm not quite done. I've got a what do they call him? The high point in the movie, the denouement or whatever. So here's the thing. So I've came up with an algorithm, and I've come up with algorithms for baseball stats, football stats, ranking the countries in the world by their degree of violence. I came up with a statistical analysis of the war on drugs. I'm just doing what I do in politics for my own personal situation here, trying to sell our house. I'm making, some moves to just parenthetically that will allow me to do a lot more of the political projects and the writing projects that I want to do. So let me see if I can wrap up. So the algorithm located 2 green zone neighborhoods in the city of Buffalo, North Buffalo, South Buffalo, very nice neighborhoods. I'm in North Buffalo right now. I'm on the bike path. You can see how walkable the neighborhood is. It's very, very nice and relatively safe according to crimegrades.org. But here's the thing, 2 more factors, because I'm almost out of park space. And you could see how long I've been walking on park space or the bike path, quite a long time. So, two more factors. First of all, I mentioned there's a tiebreaker between North Buffalo and South Buffalo. And here's the tiebreaker, which I think excludes the South Buffalo option. The thing about North Buffalo is we are close to all of the culturals, the main cultural institutions in Erie County, and we are close to the colleges. And I think this is just self-evidently true and valuable. For example, we're super close to the zoo. We're super close to the art gallery. The Birchfield Penny Art Gallery, the second big art gallery in town now. We're close to that. We're close to the Historical Society. We're close to Delaware Park, the crown jewel of the Olmsted Park system. I can't tell you over the years how many times we use Delaware Park. I could spend a podcast about it. Sports, recreation, cross country, basketball, unbelievable. Both kids were there constantly for sports, unofficial, official, you name it. And we're close to UB. We're close to UB Amherst. We're close to Damon. We're close to Buff State. We're close to Canisius. I taught at Canisius College, and it took me 7-8 minutes to get there. So that's the tiebreaker. I think North Buffalo beat South Buffalo because of the tiebreaker. But here's the ultimate tiebreaker, and I got one more final point. You'll see a little bit of Hurdle Avenue because it's going to take me a couple more minutes. Here's the real tiebreaker. So the algorithm, the objective algorithm I came up with, only has 8 properties in the county that meet the algorithm. 8. I didn't make this stuff up. It's all objective. It's all true, to the best of my knowledge, with a possible error rate of 2-3%. Maybe there's 9 properties. I don't think so. I think there's 8. I think I got them all. Here's the thing, though. If you're in that 5 or 10% of the population that's actively looking to move or thinking about moving, this list isn't going to do you that much good because 7 of the 8 properties are not for sale. There's only 1 property for sale that meets the algorithm. That's 63 Newport. We put it on Zillow a couple weeks ago. We were a little behind schedule. We're busy. We both work. We're going to start heavily marketing the property. I've already got offers. I got 1 solid offer. A lot of interest with minimal marketing. So I think the house is going to go fast. So if you're anybody, just do them a favor. They can at least check out the property. They don't have to buy it. Am I back on? And you'll be doing me a favor too. You'll be helping a longtime libertarian activist start to get into a situation where he can do so much more. I've got so many ideas and projects that are on the drawing board, and that's one of the things we're trying to accomplish. So I'm going to make one final point, and then I'm going to shut the hell up. Again, and I'm going back to the concept that, well, gee, Jim, this is a self-serving, jerry-rigged algorithm. You set it up. You knew where you were going before you did it. Okay, well, certain amount of truth to that. But I have a trump card. No pun intended. Because 27 years ago, when we bought the house, I didn't know anything about 63 Newport Avenue. But I did have kind of an algorithm in my head for what we were looking for. Guess what, folks? We were looking for a safe, walkable neighborhood, a quiet side street, low property taxes, a double attached garage. I have one more comment about that. And what was the other one? A deep and wide lot. And so I kind of had this algorithm in my brain, not by that name. didn't have a list. But that algorithm led us to buy 63 Newport in the first place. And we've been there for 27 years. And we've enjoyed the hell out of living there, the way it was intended. But seriously, folks, the algorithm makes sense. And if you know anybody who's interested in buying a property in a safe, walkable neighborhood, which has low property taxes and all the other things I talked about, send them my way. I really appreciate everybody hearing me out today. Thank you very much.